What actually appears to be completely doctored relates to the voter registration of Donald Trump's new campaign co-manager, Steve Bannon. This is the Breitbart News CEO, who is now the co-manager of Donald Trump's campaign. Steve Bannon is registered to vote in the very important swing state of Florida at an empty house that he doesn't even live in. And he has an active voter registration at a house in Miami-Dade County, Florida. The house is vacant and reportedly set to be demolished to make way for a new real estate development. This would be a breach of election law. According to Luis Guevara, the owner of the house, I have emptied the property. Nobody lives there. We are going to make a construction there. Neighbors say the property has been abandoned for several months. And there's a very weird sort of backstory about this property where Bannon used to rent the house for use by his ex-wife, Diane Clohessy, but didn't live there himself. Clohessy, in her own right, is a Tea Party activist who moved out of the house earlier this year. She has an irregular voting pattern herself to be discussed, maybe on a different day. Questions have been asked to Steve Bannon, to Clohessy, to the Trump campaign repeatedly about what is going on with Steve Bannon being registered at a house that is vacant and due to be demolished for construction. Absolutely no commentary whatsoever. We did hear from Jason Miller, a Trump campaign spokesman, who said that Mr. Bannon moved to another location in Florida, but is refusing to answer any other questions whatsoever. There are layers to this insanity. Number one, Steve Bannon is the CEO of Breitbart News, which for years has been claiming that minorities and Democrats are just rampant with voter fraud, people voting 2 times, dead people voting with fake addresses, people voting under fake names, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So if Breitbart News' CEO is doing the exact same thing, that's amazing, number one. But it goes even further than that, because the Trump campaign has been running by scaring other people about how the election is rigged in a whole variety of ways. And it turns out that Steve Bannon may not even be entitled to vote in Florida at all, never mind at this particular address. Under Florida law, voters must be legal residents of the state and county where they are intending to register to vote. And it's not even clear what state Steve Bannon actually lives in. It's not clear if it's New York State that he should actually be voting in, or Washington, D.C., or California. He has all sorts of connections to all of those states, but every indication that this may be someone actually committing voter fraud, the type of fraud that we are told brown people and Democrats commit. Truly stunning. I mean, we've talked, Jason, now. Trump accuses Hillary of being the bigot. Well, he's really running the bigoted and xenophobic campaign. Trump says we need to see Hillary's health records. It turns out that his medical letter was written in 5 minutes, specifically by Dr. Harold Bornstein to please the Donald Trump campaign. Most accusations that Trump is making against either Democrats or Hillary Clinton or non-white people are allegations that are better turned around and applied to either his own campaign or people associated with it.
I think the only answer here is I'm going to go to Florida. I'm going to rent a double wide. I think Lewis is going to rent the one next to me. And we're going to both get some letters written by some doctors. No, I'm not going to stoop to this level. I'm just going to vote in the state, in the county that I live in, and, let the cards play as they will.
Yeah, but it's Democrats who don't do that. And that's why we have to make it really, really difficult in traditionally black areas for people to vote. We have to, in traditionally Christian, evangelical black areas, we have to eliminate Sunday voting altogether, because it's not just about church groups actually bringing their congregants to vote together. It's about somehow Democrats and brown people committing the exact type of voter fraud that it appears that Steve Bannon himself, co-manager of the Donald Trump campaign, is committing. Truly, truly stunning. And I hope at some point we get an explanation about this. And by the way, Trump spokesman Jason Miller, it seems that Trump has a history of making up people whose last names are Miller to function as spokespeople. I'm not saying that's going on with Jason Miller. It's very possible that Jason Miller really exists. But back when we talked about that other fake, non-existent Trump spokesperson, it was not Bill Miller, but it was another Miller. And it would just be hilarious if yet again we have a fake Trump campaign spokesperson. I would assume at this point that Jason Miller is a real person, but just funny that yet again that last name pops up. Let's take a break. Fantastic interview coming up next.